everyone. This is Hour of Healing. I am your host, Candice. I'm here with Dr. Joe today to continue on this journey of Number Your Days. I know if you guys have been following our recordings in the previous weeks, we talked about, part one, two, and today we're going to be talking about the part three, which is evening stage or evening phase. The first one was a morning phase, like I said last time, it's like eating breakfast, lunch, dinner. So we have morning phase, afternoon phase, evening and night phase, and each one of them has an age bracket. If you want to know more, go and listen to it. Don't forget to share this message with loved ones. Dr. Joe is here with me, so we'd like to welcome him in. Dr. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing well, Candice. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited for today to see where we're gonna go with all of this. Last time I was taking so much note that I was like, I even forgot that I was the host. So, like when you hear me say and not asking questions for you guys as I usually do, is because I'm also like, writing stuff down for my own self. So yes, get your pens and paper ready for today to learn to heal ourselves, emotionally, mentally, heal our family, communities. This is hour of healing. And so, Dr. Joe, I want you to give us. I think we have the morning phase, of course, which is birth to 21.
Right.
And then the afternoon is 22 to 40. Like I always say, he's generous, so he may want to give you a brief, and then we'll jump right into the evening phase.
Absolutely, Mr. Candice. And yes, thank you for hosting us again today. We as we talked about number your days, that what this was about, that the goal is to help our audience understand that there is a way that we can do life intentionally for life to benefit us rather than just go through the changing seasons day after day, week after week, year after year. And sometimes, unfortunately, we end up on the tail end of our lives and we start remembering the things that we did not do. And so there's a lot of regret and things like that, which we will talk about in the night stage. But we talked about the morning phase or the morning stage of life, which, like you rightly said, was 0 to 21. And
Right.
then the afternoon phase of life, which is 22 to 40. And Candice, I thank you last a week for making sure that I kept the evening phase 40 to 60. Because honestly, as I sat down throughout the weekend, I'm thinking about it over and over again. It just didn't fit to move it to 65 because of retirement. And I'll go into details when we talk about the evening phase.
Yeah.
But as a way of background, I want to actually finish what we were talking about with the conflicts and the failures of the afternoon phase. I think
Brushed on.
we in a at the because listed a few things there, but at least one or two of them needs to be elaborated on because I don't want our audience to have too much of imbalances.
Yeah.
And one of the main things that I had said as the conflicts or the failures of the afternoon phase of life was separation.
Right.
Remember, I gave an example as divorce and things like that. But because we were just listening, I didn't go into it.
Dated.
Um, but I think really the separation is not even just the issue of divorce, which tends to happen a lot in the afternoon phase because of the pressure and things like that.
Mhm.
But one of the main ways that every person is attacked in life, that your destiny is attacked, your character is attacked, your purpose is attacked, is with this issue or conflict of separation and isolation. Because, in the afternoon phase of life, this is the time where you are building your career, you are building that ministry. So life is going well, you have that family. But this is also the stage that mentorship is so, so key. And
Mm.
so I will tell you, my dear audience, that at this very stage in your afternoon phase of life, if you find yourself ignoring mentorship, avoiding all advisors or counselors, I want you to know, whether you are a believer or not, that you are under attack. Because the way that the enemy plagues our destiny in this stage is by isolating us so that they can cause us to err. And that error is what we will take into our evening stage, which we'll be talking about today. So don't forget this. Please, mentorship is the way we heal in the afternoon phase. If you find yourself losing time, losing resources, having conflict after conflict after conflict in your afternoon phase, mentorship is the solution. Mentorship is one of the biggest ways or avenues that God, in His infinite wisdom, has made available for us. I like what it says in the book of Proverbs. It says that in the multitude of counselors or mentors or advisors, there is peace, there is safety, there is no war. And it's very important that we remember that. And of course, we talked about the grace for speed, and we talked about mercy as well. So I just wanted to add this on because we were listening, and because of time, we just listed and went off, but I wanted to add this on there.
Yeah. So, but you speaking about the afternoon phase, and I know the age range starts from 22 to 40. I know around 22 to 25, 26. You can reason around the concept of a person needing a mentor. But 35 to 40, just that 5 years to that borderline of 40, somebody may be listening, they're like, I'm too old for that. you know if you can define what mentorship is, because I feel like sometimes it's like there's a little bit of a misconception around mentorship, because a 36-year-old thinking of a mentor, like, what do you mean? Like, I'm a grown woman, I don't need to respond to anybody, or I don't need to an opinion or to share. So if we can speak more about it, to not let it be like a high school type of thing, or you're in college so you need a mentor. But even in life, no matter how old you are, you can, if you can.
Yeah, so thank you for that question, Sister Candace. And the truth is, mentorship is not for young people only. Mentorship is for everyone at every phase of life. And the reason is because no matter what phase of life you are in, even if you are 70, there is somebody who is 98. And if you are 98, there's someone who is 115. And the reason why I bring this up is because mentorship really has to do with having someone who has the experience, or someone who is more experienced than you, take you under their wings to play the role of an advisor,
Okay.
to help you develop the necessary skills, knowledge, and resources that you need to be able to improve on that phase that that person is. I will take that definition again. That mentorship is when someone with more experience than you, whether in age, in skill, in talent, in profession, whatever it is, someone with more experience than you, taking you under their wings to give you advice, to help you gain the necessary knowledge and insight that will help you do life better than you would have at that stage. And so, for instance, if you are in your afternoon phase, as we are talking about, and you are married, and you're going through certain marital problems, which everybody does, the beauty is it pays to learn from the experience of others.
Okay.
I know there is a saying that says that experience is the best teacher. But
Right.
why go through the pain when somebody has already paid that price to
Yeah.
go through that pain? And so it's important that we understand that mentorship is not for just young people. It's no
Yes.
matter, as long as you continue to grow, as long as you continue to develop, you will need mentorship.
Right, right. So, question, a follow-up question with that. So, if I have a mentor, like say I'm 30 and my mentor is 40, 50, whatever, and I feel like whatever I needed to get from them, I've already gotten it. Must I switch a mentor? Like, how does that work? That relationship of mentors.
Yeah, so that's actually a very important question because the truth is no one mentor can serve all purposes for anyone. And that is why I personally have a big issue with this whole idea of loyalty in our day and age.
Mm.
Because, Sister Candice, you will find that when the role of advising that you are playing for anyone reaches a certain level, the goal is for you to send them out. Great
Right,
leaders don't gather people. Great leaders disperse
right.
because they invest themselves enough. They
Yeah,
mentor people enough to a point where those mentors become reflections of them in the community. If
true.
you are a great leader, you don't pull people to yourself to keep them.
You
You
keep them.
you train them and you send them out. And so every great mentor knows that at a certain point, their role in the mentee's life will come to an end. But
Mm.
that does not mean that you break relationship. And that is the error with our generation. That we feel that as long as I'm not getting this from that person, I don't need them. No. There are things that you will think you have learned from that mentor that you will find out later in your life that you really truly did not learn. And so keeping that relationship active, keeping that relationship vibrant will continue to play that role or help you learn what you were supposed to learn. The
Mm.
other thing is your mentors also develop.
True.
And so the things that they are teaching you today that they think is the best truth ever
Right.
might change. But by
Mm.
the time their knowledge change, you
You
haven't passed them yet. You are still in the process of learning their previous knowledge. And
right.
so keeping mentorship or mentor relationships help you do life much better. In
Right.
fact, remember when we talked about relationships last year, that I said the quickest way to prosper or succeed in life is through relationships.
That's true. That's true.
And so, and mentorship is one of such relationships.
Right, right. Very important one. And that's why I'm trying to, for us to really emphasize on it because I think now many people feel like if I don't need any help, I don't need a mentor. So it's a misconception out there that no matter what, you need somebody that can, help you in your life. And I feel like one thing I also want us to get clear about the whole relationship around mentorship and the mentee and the mentor and the stuff like that is that um so must there be the kind of relationship where it's like a master servant? You get what I
No.
mean? Because I think there's an area of this mentorship where sometimes the one who is mentoring or the one who is mentoring allows yourself or get to the level of the mentee, and because you're teaching them, they're building that relationship with them. But sometimes some mentees get so comfortable or they feel like if she has come to this level, he has come to this level, then we kind of like cool, like we're the same or something like that. You get what I mean? And then they lose sight of maybe certain questions that they would have asked before they got close to you, or they lose sight of why they're even there in the first place. So many mentors keep that gap. But what is the ideal? Like, how should it? What was the actual ideal?
So ideally, and there is no one answer that will fit all because dynamics of relationships change. But ideally, everybody learns from everyone. That's really what the truth
Right,
is. So
right,
even though you are a mentee to someone who is mentoring you, there are things about there are things that your mentor also will be learning from you. And I've had many people who are counselors to me, mentors to me, tell me this, that I am learning this from
right,
you. That how
right.
did you do this? That I learned this from you. So life is progressive. Life is never static. And that's why we are having this discussion on number your days. And as long as life remains progressive, that means that those who want to succeed in life, in all their endeavors, must continue to grow and develop. And so if you go on to grow and develop, you don't only learn from champions, you also learn from the people who tried and failed. Because there are lessons that the one who conquered, the champion, can never teach you. But the one who has tried 10 times and failed will be able to teach you. So though you are a champion and so you have a lot of people who are learning from you, the fact that one of your mentees might actually be someone who have lost many times, there's value in that. In the same way, for you as the mentee, you need to keep a healthy balance of respect that will always help you learn the things that you need to learn. Because the very moment you break that relationship, that mentorship relationship doesn't exist anymore. And you are wasting your time. And so if that relationship is not producing fruit in your life, in your mentor's life, then maybe it's time that the two of you came to an agreement to go your separate ways. Because you can waste so much time trying to learn something you actually rejected. And it's very, very sad. It's very heartbreaking because many people are rejecting the very things that they are trying to learn. And so they spend years that I will call them wasted years trying to learn the same thing that they are actively rejecting. And so for most people, that by the time they realize that what they are learning is actually what they are rejecting, and so they are wasting time, it's a little too late.
Wow.
And that also comes into number your days. Because if you know the stages of life, you know what you have to be accomplishing or what the goals have to be.
Right.
Then you will not spend 5 years trying to learn something that you should have learned 10 years ago. Because then now you are spending 15 years to learn something that you probably may not have the time to use by the time you actually acquire that knowledge.
And I think intentionality in all this, I think that's the main key phrase or word, is to be intentional about every decision and even in our relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we will move on to the evening phase, which is 40 to 60, right?
Correct.
What are the defining features here? What are we looking at? What is the projection in this stage?
So thank you very much, Sister Candice. So the evening phase of life, which is the age from 40 to 60. And this stage, like the other two stages that we talked about, also has its defining features that are very, very key that any person listening to us should not miss. One is the fact that learning never stops. But in the evening phase of life, not only are you learning purposefully, but you are refining the focused learning that you have done. And so you can say you are becoming a sub-specialist in the very things that you are doing. And the reason why you are doing this is because in the evening phase of your life, knowledge that you have acquired and the application of that knowledge in wisdom and experience are stable. They are at the same level. Just like, remember, in the afternoon phase, your energy and your health was at a level plane. At this stage, knowledge and wisdom and experience are on a level plane. And so you are able to do more with less strength. And so this stage, my dear audience, is where you grow that ministry. This is where harvest increases.
Okay.
This is where you make the most money.
Oh.
You don't make the most money in your afternoon phase.
Oh.
You establish connections and relationships that will pay dividends in your evening phase.
Oh.
And remember, everybody who is a worker let's say a day worker, is still working when evening comes. Most
Mm-hmm.
of the time, you are leaving work in the evening. And
Right.
that has a very powerful spiritual connotation because in your evening phase, you will get to a point where you have to transition to thinking about not working anymore. You don't wait to retirement before you start planning retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So your evening phase is when you make the most harvest, you make the most money, and you also plan for life after working.
Mm.
You don't wait till your night phase before you start planning. That will be too late.
Mm.
Because wisdom is at a high level with your knowledge and your resources because you're making the most money. That is where you finish your building.
Okay.
Build your retirement home in your evening phase.
Okay.
Please don't make the mistake to say, I will build my retirement home with my 401k. No, you build that retirement home with in your evening phase when you are making the most harvest. Sister Candace, the evening phase is also the time where your health starts going down.
Okay.
So your strength is still there, but your health is not as it was,
In your
which
afternoon. Right.
means that you don't have the ability to waste time. So
Mm.
there should be as minimal wastage in your evening phase as possible.
Mm.
The other thing that is very key in our evening phase of life, which is between the age of 40 to 60, is the time to think about your legacy.
Mm.
Your legacy. What do I mean by legacy? It's the time of influence and the time of impact.
Mm.
We will dwell more on legacy when we talk about the
Mm.
night phase. But in your evening phase is where you start being mentor to others. We
Mm.
talked about mentorship.
Right.
You start building a legacy in your evening phase. So
Oh.
this is ideally the stage that you can start writing books.
Oh.
You have acquired enough knowledge and experience and have enough wisdom and good strength to start writing books and doing other things. Remember, I said in your afternoon phase is not the time for you to be expanding yourself or evolving in
Right.
everything.
Right. Right. Right.
This evening phase is when you do that because you are thinking of legacy.
Mm.
And I will explain legacy to some extent, but more of legacy will come in your night phase. But there is legacy that you deal with your future generations and your legacy that you deal with your immediate surroundings. And so the immediate surrounding or immediate people, let's say your children and your spouse, this is the time you start building a legacy for them.
Mm.
Sister Candace, there are people who will build a legacy in their evening phase, but I will show you how you can destroy this legacy when we talk about the night phase.
I fix.
And so you are writing books, you are mentoring people, you are getting involved in training others to take your place.
Right.
You don't wait to return before you train your successor, my dear businessman. You
Mm.
know, it's unfortunate, Sister Candace, but this is the reason why some people can't retire because they don't plan in their evening phase what the night phase will look like. Of
Mm.
all the phases of life or the stages of life that we go through, your night phase is the one that you can have the most control over.
Mm.
And I will tell you why when we talk about that.
All right. So, you've given us a lot of stuff as to what, and this is very powerful. These things that we are hearing, and I hope viewers out there, or listeners out there, you are in agreement with me because, again, you live life, you just wait for your birthday to come, you celebrate it, keep just keep it moving. You just go along with the wind. But this is just for you to sit down and do a self-assessment, inner self-assessment, and see if I'm extending myself too much. What stage am I in? Like, should I be doing all of this? And I think if these are not applied, we waste time.
Correct.
Time is wasted, and we get to I guess that would be the ninth stage where we will regret. We're gonna regret and looking back, like, oh, I wish I did this. I wish I didn't do this. And
Correct.
so this is what we're trying to prevent. But what is the conflicts? Whilst we're talking about it, what are the conflicts or failures and challenges in this stage that we can, be mindful of, so that in our movements we can consider?
Yeah, Sister Candice, I believe that the biggest conflict, and probably we may just talk about one today or two, but the biggest conflict in your evening phase of life is pride.
Mm.
Remember, I told you last week that pride begins in your afternoon phase,
Face.
but it doesn't necessarily manifest in your afternoon phase.
Right.
Because I believe that there is a clear distinction between pride and arrogance.
Okay.
Arrogance really is about you exaggerating things or exaggerating yourself to a point of thinking you are more important than you are. In other words, you think you are all that, but you don't have the substance
to prove it.
You don't have the success to back it up, yes. And that is arrogant. You are ignorant and you are happy about the fact that you are ignorant. Or you are ignorant and you are ignorant about the fact that you are ignorant.
You are ignorant.
So that is arrogance, basically. And so pride doesn't manifest in your afternoon phase, regardless of what the consensus thought might be. This is the stage where pride manifests.
Wow.
Why? Because in your evening phase, my dear audience, you have substance. You have results. So you have the ability to back up what you are saying.
Exaggerate about.
And that is what pride does.
Okay.
Pride is you have confidence, and yes, it's good. You have the results to back up that confidence, but that confidence is overblown.
Right.
Simply that is what pride is. And so in your evening phase, because you've made the money, you've built the house already, because you have started writing the books or you are selling the books, you are the bestseller, because ministry is booming, you have branches of your church. Now, pride sets in. And this is a very dangerous thing because, Sister Candice, do you know that of the few things that causes God to fight men, pride is one of them?
Oh, definitely.
Pride is one of the few things in life that will cause God himself, the one who made man, to fight man. You can have a lot of money, live an extravagant life, and it's almost as though God doesn't care.
Right.
You can be maltreating people, causing harm to the environment or people. And with all due respect, it sometimes looks as though God doesn't care.
Right.
But become proud and see how he fights you. So this is a big conflict of it can easily derail anyone in their evening phase.
And how does that look like, the manifestation of pride? If a person gets to that stage and they experience that conflict, and they are right now, like, let's say they are in that phase of their pride manifesting, how are things going to look like for such a person? Are they going to lose anything, or?
So that is actually a very powerful question, Sister Candice, because you are talking about the outcome of this conflict or this failure.
Right.
And the outcome of pride is what will manifest in your night phase, which is loneliness.
Oh.
Because out of pride, you find that you lose the people who cared enough about you
Oh,
to
wow.
stay.
Mm,
Pride causes us to ourselves. Pride causes us to surround ourselves with yes men and yes men.
mm,
People who will just support what we are doing no matter what. So if you find, my dear audience, that the people around you are always agreeing with you or saying yes to you without anybody having the spine to
to question.
challenge or to suggest anything else, with all due respect, you are becoming proud.
Mm,
And the outcome of this is actually another conflict, which is regret and loneliness.
mm,
Because yes men and yes women, people who just say yes to you, are not really for you. Remember, we talked about who is for you in season 2, and we talked a bit about this, that there are people who are around us only because they think that you will leave the company and hand it over to them. You
right.
will retire and hand the company over to them, not because they really care about what you are doing. And so even when you are wrong, they don't want to say anything about it. Step
Mhm,
aside for a month, give the helm of the company to them, and see if they will not boot you out of the board members.
mhm, mhm.
So pride will lead to regret.
And lonely.
And
Okay.
like I said, pride will lead to God fighting you. How does God fight a man? He takes away his support.
Mm,
What are some of the supports that we have that he can take away? Your health is one. And so you will find that people will spend so much of their evening phase building things and they don't even get to enjoy it.
mm,
I'm not saying that if this happens to anyone, my dear audience, that they are proud automatically.
right.
But we know the manifestations of pride.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know how pride makes us look or act. We act as if everybody is beneath us. And so, if everybody is beneath you, then when you get to the place where you need help, the people who are supposed to help you or who could have helped you are no longer there to be found. Why? Because pride has kicked them away.
Mm, wow.
When we are proud, we think that without us, the world will stop. And I'm sorry, but there is no single person, no matter how rich anybody is, with all due respect and humility, I'm not trying to offend you. But the truth is, when you get to a point where you feel or you believe that no one or the world cannot go on without you, I'm sorry, but you are proud. Because the world existed before you got to the level of influence that you have, and the world will go on just fine after you have left.
Yeah.
The
Mm,
fact that you are scaling the heights of success or enjoying levels of success, unprecedented level of success, I should say, in ministry, in business, in life, whatever have you, even in health, does not mean that nobody can do what you are doing. It
mhm,
only appears that nobody can do what we are doing because we are there doing it.
mhm.
Step away and give it time, and you will see that someone can do it or even do it better. And that is why there is that phrase that time heals all wounds. It's not the wound that I am hurt that time is healing necessarily. No. The wound of a vacuum created by anyone in life will eventually be healed by time.
Mm, that's powerful. Wow. Wow. So we have pride as one of the challenges. What is another one?
Well, frustration is a conflict in this stage because this is the stage where, I mean, you have 10, 100 branches of your business. You sit down and you look at your assets or the work of your hands. And yes, there is every reason for you to believe that people should be stooping down and laying down for you to walk over them. And so, tangled with pride is frustration.
Mm,
The other way that frustration also comes in your evening stage is if you lost or wasted time in your afternoon phase,
Mm.
because you realize in your evening phase that your health is not at the point where it can do that all
More.
the things that you wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Remember, in this phase, knowledge and understanding is equal, but health and strength is not the same.
Mm.
Your strength is going down and your health is going down. That
Mm.
is just the fact of
The
life.
reality. Wow. So we have pride, we have frustration and loneliness as one of them.
Correct.
It was regret,
Yes, regret was
regret too.
yes,
But I
but
think
I said we would talk more about regret in
in
the
the night stage, but I think loneliness and regret was like an outcome of pride
correct.
in this stage. Yeah. But how do we heal though? How can a person heal from these kind of if they're actually here? How do they heal? This is hour of healing, of course.
Of course. And so, I mean, it's easy to say that be humble, right? It's easy to say than to actually do it. But this is the stage, my dear audience, where we obtain grace to be humble. Sister Candice, I think I've said it on this platform many times that I am a student and I learned from a lot of pastors. And it will surprise you that some of the oldest men and women of God that are still walking our world today were some of the most humblest men and women of God in their evening phase of life. They had great ministry, but because of that humility that they had, they
Mm-hmm.
are in their 80s. Some of them are near their 80s or 90s, and ministry is still as though they are in their 60s
Mm.
because of this virtue called humility. So we all have to obtain grace to be humble, especially when you are enjoying great harvest, success. When I say harvest, is you are enjoying production at a maximum or at a peak level. Everything you touch turns to gold in your evening phase.
Mm.
That is where you have to be careful and you have to be intentional about seeking that grace to be humble. The other way we heal is with this same mentorship and relationships that we talked about. Surround yourself with people who don't only say yes to you, but who have the confidence to point out the error of your way.
Mm.
Because, Sister Candice, no matter how long a person lives in error or a mistake, it does not make that mistake right.
That's true.
And so, if you have people who have confidence
Mm.
to say to you that, dear father, dear advisor, dear CEO, how about us going about this that way? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to take their way, but
Mm.
it gives you cause to pause.
Right.
It gives you a reason to rethink some of the things that you are doing. There are people that, unfortunately, I see this a lot in ministry because I do study ministers. And I see ministers who are, with all humility, they are enjoying great levels of success. And
Mm.
so we thank God for that. But they can stand and say, for me, nobody can advise me. And when I hear that, it shakes me because all good things, remember, Sister Candace, all good things come from God, but they come through men. The Bible says, my dear minister, that the world, the earth, hast thou given the sons of men, which means that as far as this cosmos is concerned, man has a role to play in whatever God wants to do.
Of course, yeah.
And so when I hear ministers, especially, I know people in business say that too, but ministers, especially when they say things like that, it shakes me.
I mean, it's surprising to me that you're saying that. I know people act or think it, but
Oh,
I've never
no.
They say that that's
Yes.
danger.
Yes, I've actually heard ministers say that before. And
Wow.
these are people that I have a lot of respect for. And there is results to validate what they are talking about. But a friend of mine once said that he says some of these ministers today talk as though they sleep with God on the same bed. And it's sad, but it's true. You
Yeah.
know, the other way, maybe the third way, and then we can try to wrap up here. The third way that we heal in this phase
Mm-hmm.
is to never give up growing. Never give up growing.
That's powerful.
Because the very moment you stop growing,
Mm.
you are prone to error.
Mm.
Do you realize, Sister Candace, as I was thinking throughout the week, I wrote here that, do you realize that God created man as a legacy?
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
When he had made his world, he created man and put man in the middle and said, name everything and take care of this, tend this, and use it for your benefit. He created man for his legacy. Why? Because God wanted a way that his expression will continue to be known. He never stopped.
Right, right.
And so, as a man, never stop learning.
Mm.
Always continue to grow.
And I think that's the misconception. We feel like learning has an age to it. Yeah, you know.
and that is sad.
And another thing too, I think we feel like learning is only in the classroom. That's also another
That's also another error. You know, one of our guests that we had last year, we've had actually every season, the immediate past bishop of the North American Diocese, Professor E.Y. Latte, one of the most brilliant minds you will ever encounter. And sometimes when he and I are talking, he'll be talking about books that he's reading. And after talking with him every time, I say to myself that I have so much to learn. Every time, without fail. I talk with him, whether it's 5 minutes or 30 minutes or even an hour on the show. And then as soon as I'm off the phone, I go looking for a book to read or something because it tells me that I have so much to learn. This is a man who, the first encounter I had with him was over 20 years ago, and that was with his book that was being referenced by a theologian. And 20 years later, this man is telling me things he's learning in a book.
Yeah.
So, my dear audience, no matter what level of success you enjoy, please don't stop learning. Don't stop growing. Because no matter what you have seen, even if you have seen all there is to see in engineering, there is something you have not seen in social relationships. Why? Because you spent all your time in engineering, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. Sister Candace, let me say this because I learned this from a mentor and then I will put it here. Do you know that in the school of the Spirit, when it comes to Christians growing, when the Spirit of God is training anyone for their destiny, He doesn't train them for everything.
True.
In other words, if your ministry is prophetic, the Holy Spirit teaches you all about prophetic. And in fact, He will tell you that things about administration is not important. But the reason why He tells you that is because as far as your purposes are concerned,
you don't need
that is not important.
Right.
But when He is done training you, it's expected of you to go learn about administration. If you don't go learn about administration, your prophetic ministry will fail. When you are in med school, you spend at minimum 7 years training, and then depending on whatever specialty that you want to do or whatever consultancy you want to do, you will further it however many years that is. Sister Candace, not even once do you take a course in finance.
Mm.
But the very moment you graduate and start working, you are expected to be this genius with money. So please don't stop growing. I will leave it right there.
Right, right. This is a very powerful teaching, and I think with the learning aspect always gets me because I feel like I hear that all the time around me, like, oh, education is for you guys, or like, and and actually we kind of look down on older people who are trying to learn. Like young
Unfortunately.
people kind of look down on them, like, what are you doing trying to learn now? Like, what are you too old for this? But I think that's what keeps us in the space of ignorance, and ignorance becomes a disease sometimes, and it's like because you don't know, you think you know it all.
Yes, you are ignorant about what you don't know.
Right. And so it makes you look more like ignorant than you actually think you are because you don't know. But yes, so this is the evening phase 40 to 60, and we've said a lot. We've said so many things, and I urge you guys, don't listen to these tapes once. You know, try go over it. Take notes, think about it, pause it, think through it, meditate through it. And I think that's how it'll get in your spirit that even when you forget it, like you actually act it out. All right. So we've talked about knowledge, wisdom, experience, being on a level plane in this stage, the challenges that it comes. And the biggest challenge that we've learned today is pride. Pride, pride, pride. Check yourself. If you check yourself and you feel like there's no way you can be prideful, you are
You are
prideful.
proud.
um yes, and we can heal, of course, with humility. And humility, you can start as little as a child to, and there's no ending to that trait. It's very powerful. And I like what Dr. Joe you said about some ministers in the kingdom, even over 80, they still kind of like relevant
Yes.
because of humility. And I think there's a mystery to that because being humble kind of like takes you out of the equation, I would say. And so even you're old and everything, but it's kind of like there's always more because you're still learning. You're still trying to submit. So there's always more God allows you to be able to do to be beneficial. You don't become stagnant. And I think that's one of the mysteries with humility. So don't forget to share. Don't forget to tune in for next week in the ninth stage, which is 60 till death. Don't get scared. We all gonna die one way or the other. But I'll give it to Dr. Joe as he wraps us up. I think I've done it, but just take his last words, what he wants to tell somebody out there who is in this stage. Like, what if they're listening to you? What is your last takeaway for this?
Yeah, Sister Candace, thank you so much. And it certainly is difficult to try to find one or two things to tell our audience. But I will say, in a way of closing, that no matter what we do in life, no matter what success we attain, we should do everything in our power to not have God resist or fight us.
Mm-hmm.
It's enough for people to fight you because of the level of success that you have attained. But having God fight you, my dear audience, just something that we don't want to get there. Because whether you believe Him or not, it's not the issue. But it's the issue of if you have Him on the opposite side of you, everything that you think you can do, this God can oppose you. And He opposes with as much fervor as he supports. So please, let's all find space for humility in our life. And I believe that we will be blessed for it. God bless you so much. And we will see you same time next week as we wrap up this conversation or this series of conversation on Number Your Days. God bless you. Bye-bye.